All right, fam. What up? Welcome to episode 3 of my brand new haircut. What is the slope of the line going through -2, 1 and 2, -5 in the standard XY coordinate plane? So you've probably heard this one a million different times. The slope M is always equal to y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Maybe your teacher calls it the change in y over the change in x, the delta y over the delta x. It doesn't matter. All you really got to do on this one, in my opinion, is label. We got the first x value. We got the first y value, we got the second x value, we got the second y value, and you plug it directly into that formula that you hopefully got memorized. -5 minus 1 divided by 2 minus -2. Now, we're going to show this in our head, but again, if you're not comfortable, do it in the calculator. I'll show how to do it in the calculator in just a moment. -5 minus 1 is going to be -6. 4 minus -2 is going to be +4. Those both divide by 2, so it's -3 divided by 2. Beautiful answer. But yet again, I said we're going to see it on the calculator. So yet again on this calculator, if you have our y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, you need a fraction. So you're going to hit either alpha x or you're going to hit alpha y equals and then enter and get that fraction going. And it's going to be -5 minus 1 divided by 2 minus -2. Sure enough, we get that same exact answer, -3 over 2. Let's move on to question number 12. So on question number 12, in Cherokee County, the fine for speeding is $17 for each mile per hour the driver is traveling over the posted speed limit. In Cherokee County, Kirk was fined $221 for speeding on a road with a posted speed limit of 30 miles per hour. Kirk was fined for traveling at what speed? So we're going to do two operations in this one. We're going to figure out how many miles per hour over he was, and then we're going to add 30 to it. So we have $221. That was his fine, and it's 1 for every time you're over the speed limit. So we're going to go ahead and divide by 17, and that's going to give us 13. Yet again, if you're not comfortable with that, do that in the calculator. 221 divided by 17 is in fact 13, but be careful. The ACT wants to trick you. That's not the final answer, even though it's available. It's how fast was he traveling? He was traveling 13 miles an hour over the speed limit. So you're doing 13 plus that 30 miles an hour, and that's going to give you 43. Boom, boom, boom. We're moving on to question number 13. Here we go. What is the sum of the solutions of the two equations here? X is equal to 12 and 2y plus 10 equals 22. So on this one, we have a one-step process. X is going to be equal to 12 divided by 8. We can simplify that if we wanted to. I do think it is probably worth our time to simplify, so we'll divide them both by 4. So that's going to be 3 over 2. Again, if you're not comfortable with that, use your calculator. On this one here, 2y plus 10 equals 22. You've probably solved an equation like this if instead of having that 10, we're going to subtract 10 on both sides of the equation. 2y is equal to 12. Divide both sides by 2 now. Y is equal to 6. We want to know the sum. Sum just means addition. So we're doing 6 plus 3 over 2. In this case, 3 over 2 is the same thing as 1.5. You have a 2 and then you have an extra 1 on top of it. So this is in fact going to be 7.5. If you did not know how to do that on your calculator, you are able to. So let me show that real fast. So all we're going to do is we're going to type it in just like it appears, 6 plus, and then let's use that fraction button again. For me, it's going to be alpha y equals enter, and we're going to get 3 over 2. However, that has the fraction answer that's the improper fraction. However, they have mixed numbers. If you'd like a mixed number on there and you already have a fraction, what you're going to do is you're going to go ahead and hit the same buttons you did before, the alpha y equals, but you don't hit enter yet. You go down to that third one down where it has numerator over denominator goes into, and then this is the one that has a mixed number. So we're going to go ahead and do that real fast, and boom, sure enough, 7.5, just like it appears. Beautiful. Let's move on to question number 14. The average of 5 distinct scores has the same value as the median of the 5 scores. The sum of the 5 scores is 420. What is the sum of the 4 scores that are not the median? So in this case, what we got to do is we got to figure out what the overall individual value is. And this is a super duper common question they like to ask in some version on the ACT test. So if the sum was equal to 420, the individual average is going to be 420 divided by 5. So this is our average here, is going to be 420 divided by 5. Again, if you're not comfortable doing it in your head, do it in your calculator. That's going to give us 84. and it simply wants to know what is the sum of the 4 scores that are not the median. So this has the same, this median of 80, average of 84 is the median. So our final answer is going to be 420 minus that value of 84. And again, if you're not comfortable with this stuff, use a calculator. For me with subtraction, I always use a calculator. 42 minus 84, boom, we got 336 as our final answer. Boom, letter H. Let's move on to our last question of this video. Question number 15. What is the value of the expression below? We got the absolute value of negative 8 plus 4 minus the absolute value. Oof, too much stuff to say out loud, so I'm not going to. So we can do this by hand. I think doing it by hand is going to be faster than the calculator, but I will show you the calculator in just a moment. So the absolute value of negative 4. So we're treating the absolute value signs like parentheses. So we have negative 8 plus 4 is negative 4 minus the absolute value. 3 minus 9 is negative 6. And then the absolute value. The absolute value of negative 4 is positive 4. The absolute value of negative 6 is positive 6. And this is the absolute value of negative 2. And that's going to give you positive 2. Now, test taking tip, if you're on this ACT in the middle of the test and you couldn't figure out what to do, you couldn't remember what absolute value does for these ones, couldn't figure out your calculator, at the very least, you should remember that absolute value always gives positive answers. So there's no way you could have A or B as an answer. But if you did want to plug it into your calculator, there is an absolute value button. There are actually 2 places that you're going to be able to find it. I personally like hitting the math button and then scrolling right once after hitting the math button to the word number. So again, it's the math button right there below the alpha, and you're scrolling right to the word number to get ABS. That's absolute value. Now, I did say there was another method. You can also hit alpha window. And if you hit alpha window, the green button, and then that window button, you will see the ABS as an absolute value button. And if you click that one, that will also give you an absolute value bar. So in this particular question, it was negative 8 plus 4, and then minus, and then we have our same exact buttons, that alpha window, enter, and 3 minus 9 there, and hit boom. One thing that's important when you're typing in these negative signs, I don't know if I've mentioned this in this video, but you might notice there are 2 different sizes of negative sign here. There's going to be a small negative sign and a big negative sign. The small negative sign makes a number negative. The big negative sign subtracts a number. So the small negative sign is down here and the big negative sign is over on the right-hand side. That's it for this video, guys. Have a wonderful rest of your day.